Welcome to the AskOkey podcast. Pete with you once again, my guest, as usual, the Proff, and we hope you're having a splendid time this Monday evening. So charge your glasses, put the cat out or whatever it is you have to do before you can relax for a bit. Join us for an hour, roughly an hour of fun and excitement in the wonderful world of menswear, bespoke and made to measure. As usual, I encourage you to like and subscribe, and also to remember, the world of AskOkey, clothing serves two purposes depending on who you are. If you are a titan, a physical wonder, then the AskOkey style simply makes you look a little bit that much better. If you're not, if you're on the opposite end of the spectrum, as they say, the AskOkey style serves to compensate for what nature may have forgotten to give you. So without further ado, Proff, and the man who needs no introduction, there we are. Welcome.
Thank you, Pete. Another, shall I say, Oscar-worthy
Well, there you go. We do our best. We do our best.
Oscar Grammy-worthy introduction.
We do our best, yes. We do our best. Yes. And you notice Proff, as usual, looks like he stepped straight out of an AskOkey delivery box. The suit is perfectly pressed, looks as though it's never been worn, which I don't think you've worn it on a podcast.
I believe I might have worn this.
You might have worn it.
But it's been quite some time.
Yes.
This was from about two years ago, 2 seasons ago. When we launched a 3-roll 2. So it's been, this is about 2.5 years old.
Right, okay.
Yes. You wouldn't know it though.
No, you wouldn't. No. But such is the rotation that yes. You'd only need to wear it about once a year. So, and it's suitable for the season. Now, that it's an interesting stripe configuration, isn't it? Because it's a thick stripe and a thin stripe.
Yeah, it's called a double chuck.
Double chalk.
So it's a chuck stripe with it's called some call it a shadow stripe, some call it a shadow stripe, some call it sort of a double chuck because it's a chuck stripe but interspaced with a thinner stripe.
Yeah.
So you've got the broader chucks with a thinner sort of rope stripes in between. So it's a bit of an interesting. It's an odd.
Yes.
Odd cat, so to speak.
Well, it perks it up a bit compared just to having regular lines. And that is a flannel, a sort of mid-gray or light charcoal, maybe we could say?
Light, I'd say sort of dark gray, not quite a charcoal, just sort of somewhere between mid-gray and a charcoal.
And is that another Fox?
Yes, it's one from the Fox archives. They might have done this 3 or 4 years ago. I don't remember.
The boys from Harrison's are going to get after us because whenever you appear on a podcast, and I always say, "Is that Fox?" and you always say yes. So,
yeah, I mean, some of the recent stuff, we have a lot more diversity. Remember when we started this, a lot of the fabrics we used were, at the time we had just maybe a handful of vendors. Maybe Harrison's and maybe Fox was a vendor at the time. But we had just a couple of Van Dogdale.
Yeah.
We were just starting out. So a lot of the marketing garments are sort of what I would call the, what do you call them? The blueprints.
Yeah, the prototypes.
The prototypes, right. A lot of the prototypes, the fabrics for those came from my own personal collection. And I've been building a collection of fabrics for years.
Yes.
Almost 10 years.
Yeah.
So when we launched AskOkey, I had accumulated a pile of fabrics that I just accumulated out of interest. When I saw something that I liked, I bought it. So those initial garments were mostly, and at the time we were basically nursing our pennies.
Yes.
So
yes.
We tried to squeeze as much as we could out of what we had, and I had that pile lying there. I said, well, we're going to make marketing garments or prototypes. Let's use what we already have to preserve our cash. And so a lot of those early prototypes were from my own personal collection. Now, it posed a bit of a problem because then customers would see it and like, oh, I want that exactly, right? And the whole idea of a prototype is to sort of to to show what a design could look like.
That's right.
Right? And for most men, or most with some degree of imagination, you're able to translate that into sort of another cloth, another fabric. But a lot of people, again, they're like, oh, that's what I see, that's what I want. And they don't want to bother with translating. I want exactly what Proff is wearing. And we get that all the time. Now, the problem earlier was that we couldn't give them exactly what I was wearing, because a lot of those fabrics were just sort of one-offs.
Yep.
Right? But as time goes on, in the last 2 seasons, 2023 and late 23 and 24 certainly, a lot of the prototypes came from more commercially available fabrics. So pretty much everything I wore through 2000 and late 2024 and all of 2025 for sure are fabrics that we could source readily and easily from any of our existing vendors. And going forward, I presume that's going to be the same. I mean, I still have a few bolts lying down over there, but I pretty much run through most of my, vintage archive fabrics.
Yeah, I would think so. Remember, a long time ago now, early 22, we did a podcast about cloth. You remember the first one? We had that round table, and all of those samples lined up, and I think most of them have been. I think they're
converted.
Out of about 2 dozen, I think there's only about half a dozen left.
Probably you have approximately. It was more than a couple dozen.
Really? Yeah.
But out of that whole bunch, I reckon there's maybe half a dozen left.
Yeah, because you had things like the camel hair, which you hadn't yet got into a prototype at all, and the fabric that you used for the Bal Makan and everything. So there was all of that. Yeah, looking back, there was an enormous amount, wasn't there?
And it was quite an arsenal.
Yes, it was, and it's been all put to good use. And I see you're wearing an AskOkey tie. This is great, Proff. It's patriotic.
Yes. This is the credit to the accessories team, Tim especially. Tim, Hashim, Willie, they mostly handle the choice of accessory. They design, because remember, these things are handmade for us in Italy.
That's right, yes.
Our silks, meaning sort of the pocket squares, anything silk, including scarves to come.
Right.
We're launching scarves any moment now. Silk scarves and cashmere scarves and wool scarves and so on and so forth. So all our silk comes from Como in Italy. And so the boys, so to speak, in the back room, Tim, Hashim, Willie, they're largely responsible for picking, determining what designs to go with.
Right.
Because remember, they have to balance between what they think is tasteful and what is commercially viable. So you might see something you think is tasteful, maybe sort of a paisley from the 1970s, which you think is a bit quirky. It might seem fun and quirky, but there's no market for it.
No, that's
right.
So
they have to find that right balance between what is tasteful, what designs and colors and patterns are congruent to our design language, but also sort of in what you might call conventional enough prints or patterns that they are readily palatable to the broader audience.
So you have to, this is very interesting, Prof. This is really interesting. Come back to this, what you said, design language in a moment, but this is, so you've got to be just adventurous enough to stand out, but just not quite that adventurous so that people don't say, yeah, it looks great, but no.
For me. Yeah. I mean, there's some of my ties in my own personal collection I would not even dare put up in the AskOkey collection. Of course not. Like the red one, I have this red tie with sort of bold blue pages.
Oh, that one, yes.
You've seen it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people love it.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people have commented on social, whenever I had it on, oh, wow, that's a great tie, that's a power tie. But would I sell it? Probably not.
Or you might only sell one a year.
You might sell 2 a year, and that's it, exactly.
We don't have that challenge because obviously the boys, as you said, who do the selection, must have chosen awfully well because we consistently run out of ties.
Absolutely.
And socks and squares and braces.
We can't keep the accessory business just moving so fast.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it?
We just can't keep enough of them in stock. Each time last time I yelled at them to just basically just order a truckload, a trailer load, because each time they keep ordering in what you might call measured quantities. We keep running out.
Well, I remember initially, I think the inventory was about half a dozen or a dozen items.
Starting out,
yes.
When we started, we ordered maybe a half a dozen or 20.
Yeah, the minimum quantity.
Minimum quantity, and then we raised it to like 50, and then to 100 of each quantity, and they just keep running out. So now I kind of read them the riot act, and I think they've got the back room really, really stocked up for some time to come.
Well, it's yes. We can be thankful for good fortune there. But I noticed this yellow one with the red, whatever you call them,
the medallions.
The red medallions. That's a nice color, and it's curious because it doesn't naturally go with gray and light blue, but it does.
It does go actually, because actually this is something I picked up in my early banker days. A lot of bankers would wear these kind of Winchester shirts, two-tone, like
the contrasting,
with a yellow Hermes tie, sort of with a yellow, what you might call sort of a sail foulard. So with
yellow or goldish,
yellow goldish with small prints. It was a thing actually.
Right.
Back
okay.
then. So this look is very, very. I was kind of looked at the time like, okay. I'll try and reproduce some of those early day banker looks. And this is exactly, and this combination could be worn with either a gray suit or a navy suit.
Yes. And it looks just different enough to be eye-catching. But even though, what I mean is it's a different color on the spectrum of the light blue and the gray are kind of close together in a way. But the yellow just somehow fits.
It's a contrast. It's a pop. And again, something like this, I did this because I have on a waistcoat.
Right.
If I didn't have on a waistcoat, I probably would wear a different tie.
Okay.
Because remember, the purpose of the waistcoat is you just show a little bit of pop of color. Just interesting enough, but not sort of breaking up the whole visage. Because it was a long tie, right? You see this yellow thing running all the way down. Now it looks almost like a scarf.
Right.
It just sort of, it's truncated by the vest, which makes it look either like a chiffon or like a scarf or like an ascot. Something interesting.
Yes.
But without disrupting the flow of the rest of the outfit.
No, I get it now. Yeah, interesting point. And you said that AskOkey is going to be coming out with scarves.
Yes.
Interesting. And any hints?
Well, again, I'm not really involved when it comes with the accessory business. I don't really get involved with product development. The boys run it by me once they're but I literally sort of let them run with it. They have full license there. They understand the customers well enough. They understand the customers maybe a little bit more than I do.
Right.
Because they talk to the customers every day.
Sure.
So they understand, they have a very good read on the market. They know what products are in demand and in what form or shape. So I let them really handle all of that, and then once they're done, sometimes they even go to production without sharing the prototype with me. I trust them very much. They all have exquisite taste. I've never had to question a single thing they've come up with. So they have good taste, and they're closer to the market. They speak to the customers every day, and they should make those decisions.
Right. Okay. So scarves possibly in wool for the winter,
maybe.
silk maybe. That'll be interesting. That'll be interesting to see. And that's in the accessories line. Now, what you said a moment ago, sorry, but we went off on the accessories tangent there. What you said a moment ago was our design language. Now, for my own benefit, because I'm not on that side of things, and for the benefit of all the people out there, What is a design language?
Oh, design language is sort of something that a brand is known for.
Okay.
I'll give you an example. Let me see if I can find an example. Rolls-Royce, or let's say Ferrari or Lamborghini. Think of any marquee brand, right? And they always have what you call sort of a basic design language, right? And then, with every model, they play around with little features here and there, change the lights, change this and change that. So if you look at, again, Lamborghini is a good example of this, because if you look at a Lamborghini today, it is literally unchanged from the first ones, the Muira.
That shape.
That sort of sharp, long, kind of pointy with sharp, straight lines, right? Very few curves.
Yes.
So, if you think about Ferrari, is all about curves, even though they're moving sort of away.
Right.
They're kind of going to sharp lines. But Ferrari's always been, the early Ferraris, right? Were always about sort of curves. Enzo
As
Ferrari.
Porsche.
And Porsche as well. They've always prioritized sort of curves, right? Curves and just sort of three-dimensional, while Lamborghini has stuck to that design language of just sweeping straight lines with sharp angles. And that hasn't changed in 50-something years, almost 60, 70 years. I don't know how long. So a design language is the DNA.
Okay, so it's like the basic concept.
It's the basic concept, the basic DNA of a product or a brand, right? Which, if you unearth all the little bells and whistles, right, and look at the foundation, right, and the structure, right, it remains unchanged over the years.
Yes.
So when you say you're changing your design language, it's a complete departure. For instance, I'll give you an example. I like to use cars because I'm a car fan, a car buff. Think about the old Jaguar.
Right.
Remember what the old Jaguar used to look like?
Well, you've got the E-Type, and then you've got something like the XJ.
Well, you had those beautiful long lines. Remember?
That would be the E-Type,
The E-Type, even the XJ, right? The Surveying, the Jaguar Surveying, right? They had those beautiful sort of sweeping lines that looked like the leaping Jaguar, right?
Right, yes.
Remember the old Jaguars from the 60s and 70s?
The Mark, what was it called? With the two
headlamps.
Headlamps. There were four headlamps.
It had this regal.
Oh, of course.
It was regal. You saw the lines that were very, very regal. It looked really, really regal. It almost looked like a Bentley, right?
Yes.
Or Rolls-Royce.
Well, the XJ6, the XJ12 actually looked almost like a Daimler, because
like a Daimler.
The Daimler had a curved radiator.
Exactly.
That was the difference.
Exactly. So that was always the design language of Jaguar.
Right.
And it was decidedly what you might call regal, right? In the same vein as Bentley and Rolls.
Right. Okay.
Now, what happened in somewhere, I think, sort of the 90s, is that they moved away from that design language. And after that, Jaguar just lost it. They never came back from it.
Right.
And they've never recovered from it.
Right.
So they left sort of that old, sort of that design language, and they started trying to modernize it, right? With the new XF and the this and the that quite frankly, they look like Kias. You couldn't differentiate, like if you look at a modern day Jaguar, you couldn't differentiate it from a Korean car, from a Kia, or from any of these new Chinese. So they lost their core market. Their core market were traditional classicists.
Yes.
Who couldn't get into a Bentley or Rolls.
Right, okay. Well,
you understand? So that was their market. Their market was sort of the core classicists, right, who could not get into a Bentley or Rolls. The Jaguar was sort of the next thing for them, right?
And the higher end Rovers were kind of just below that.
Well, I mean, Rover is a defunct brand now.
Well, it is now, but at one time it wasn't.
At one time. But it was Rolls-Royce, it was Bentley, then it was Jaguar, right? And in that order.
Right.
And so once Jaguar changed their design language, they lost that audience. And Jaguar has they've never recovered from it. Now they're scrambling with all sorts of stupid ad initiatives. Sort of the last one being the whole the whole wokeness.
I think it killed the brand.
It just killed the brand completely, and they stopped production actually because they couldn't sell any cars. They just they just stopped production because they couldn't sell. So that is what you mean by design language.
So it's the
underlying
the visual
DNA.
Yeah, okay.
It is the underlying DNA of a brand or company's design.
And in a car, does that design language extend to, for example, idiosyncratic road handling or engine or the layout of the wheelbase and all that?
It could, but again, we're talking about aesthetics.
Right, so it's the external design,
right,
the
so
exterior
we're just
design.
talking about the exterior, the aesthetic, right? When we talk about design, remember, in the last episode, we talked about design being made of two elements, the exterior and the internal, and how they work together and how they basically, it's a symbiotic relationship.
Yeah.
But in this case, you're asking me, I suppose it's sort of more about the aesthetic.
Right, okay.
What is, sort of what I suppose the visual senses can
how
pick
it looks,
up.
yeah.
Right.
How it looks, yeah. So when you talk about now our design language,
correct.
What are the Lamborghini has the almost horizontal lines. I mean, real
straight lines, sharp edges,
and very slight curve.
Very slight, no sharp curves.
Right.
Correctly.
So how do we? Where do we sit in that? If you were to think about it, do we have sharp angles?
I wouldn't say it's. I mean, you wouldn't compare clothes to a car or an automobile necessarily, but there's an AskOkey aesthetic, right? And that AskOkey aesthetic is that pushing the boundaries without necessarily breaking the line.
Right.
So if you look at our suits, right, they are distinct. They are distinctly AskOkey. You cannot mistake them for anything other than.
No, indeed.
Like, it's impossible. It's impossible to mistake an AskOkey suit for anything other than, right? Now, that means it's distinct enough to stand out, right? But not stand out in a way that it screams.
Right, okay.
Right?
Yeah.
It not stand out in a way that it makes it sort of impractical.
Yeah, or a caricature.
Or what some might say cosplay.
Right? Sure.
A much misused and overused word. But it's distinct enough to stand out from the crowd. But it's not so distinct that it's essentially impractical.
Yes.
So it's all about pushing the envelope, right? You push the envelope, but without breaking the boundaries.
Yeah, because if you think about it,
if you want to talk about design language, from a philosophical standpoint, right? We want to stand out. We want to push the envelope. So even with our accessories, for instance, right?
Yeah.
We talk about how the accessories tend to sort of mirror the design language of our garments. You want to try new things. I mean, I encourage the guys, right? I call them the boys because, they're sort of the generation below us in the company. And they are the future of this company. But I encourage them to push the boundaries, and it comes naturally to them because they have that youth. Right? They have that youth and vigor, and they're more, shall I say, inclined to try new and interesting.
Sure.
So I give them a lot of room to run and say, okay, push the boundaries, but understanding. And thankfully, a lot of them are also naturally somewhat conservative is not the right word for it. Like Tim or Hash, social. I mean, when I say conservative, I mean sort of they push the edge, but not so much that they sort of turn into what you might call sort of what you might see on some of these Paris runways.
Well, I mean, there's.
If you understand what I mean.
It's called common sense.
They know where to stop. Exactly.
The stuff you see on the Paris runways, I'm totally uneducated in this area. But I was looking at something today from a online newsletter that I get, and the stuff on the runways is extraordinary. I mean, it's not a suit. There was one chap who was wearing a skirt, Now, I mean, obviously, we're in the 21st century. If you want to wear skirts,
knock yourself out.
Be my guest. But I mean, I don't think AskOkey is going to make skirts for men. But the funny thing was, one chap was wearing a skirt, another was wearing shorts with a jacket. And you go, okay, but where are you going with this? So, well, what's the point? And it obviously, forget breaking the boundaries. I mean, this didn't even start inside the boundaries. This started outside the boundaries. But I think what you're saying is that, yeah, we work within a set of conventions and sort of push towards the edge of that. We'll be back in one moment, everybody, after station identification. You've seen plenty of skinny baby boy double-breasted suits. And you possibly despair of ever finding one that really does what a double-breasted's supposed to do. Now, as you know, AskOkey has been in the business for a while, and we've been making double-breasteds, with some success, I might add, for some time now. Recently, we've just launched our made-to-measure line extension with double-breasted suits in our classic drape cut. So here's your opportunity. Get in front of the line, ahead of everybody else, and get yourself a real double-breasted suit. Bye for now. Welcome back, everybody. Got your glass refilled, I hope. Don't forget, like and subscribe before you leave us. Prof, you were saying, design language and moving close to the edge of what is possible, but not driving beyond that. So the tie is an example. Okay. So it's the tie is within the tradition. It's distinctive, but it's not a cosplay. It's not so radically distinctive that you can't wear it.
Correct.
Yes. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, it's a gold tie, sort of yellow gold tie with simple medallion design. So, for instance, if you had gone and you put like loud red paisley, beans on it, right? That would have just taken it in a completely different direction.
Yes.
But just using these very moderately sized medallions to decorate the silk itself just brings everything back to earth in a manner of speaking.
Yes, and it doesn't call up any particular association with any period or any particular style. In other words, it's just there. Because you don't want to be making something and everybody says, oh, that looks like it comes from the 70s or the 60s or something.
The 60s called and they want their tie back.
Yeah, no, you don't. Yes. No, you don't want that at all.
You get that in the comment section a lot.
Oh, I know.
Prof, the 30s called and they want their trousers back.
Yeah, I know. I don't think, we don't get as much of that as we used to.
No.
But I have a feeling that will actually never stop. There'll always be somebody out there who thinks he's the first guy who ever thought of that. And he just has to let it all out, so to speak. Yeah, when he's riding the subway to work and he's, this is his one great creative thought of the day. and he thinks, that's it, I'll put something up there and immortalize myself on Proff's page. So we had a question, just before we get on to some other things. We had a question, and that was, when you wear odd jackets, Prof, do you always wear the jacket darker than the trousers, or can you have a trouser that's darker than a jacket?
Well, I mean, when it comes to creating odd combinations, you really have to go with your eye because, I mean, the name of the game is contrast, right? When you're wearing odd pieces.
Right.
So you could either wear a darker jacket and lighter trousers, or the converse, or sort of the opposite, or vice versa. Could you either wear like a darker trouser and there should be sufficient contrast between the two pieces.
Oh, okay.
Now, when you add a vest, right, you're adding one more layer of complexity. And the vest needs to be in contrast certainly with the jacket.
Right. So light jacket, darker waistcoat.
Exactly. There has to be some contrast between it because they're just sitting next to one another, next to each other. And then there's a third dimension there, the trousers. have to also somehow come into the equation. So
Right.
it's a lot more of a delicate act than just sort of picking odd trousers and an odd jacket.
Yeah, well, the mind starts to
You really
boggle.
have to have an eye. You really have to have an eye. There is no, well, this is how you do it.
Right,
Right?
okay.
You know, you really have to have an eye to sort of know how to put things if you're going to introduce that third element.
Yeah, so very, very likely one might say don't, unless you know what you're
Unless you
doing.
know what you're doing.
Yes, because it'll look like you just pulled something off in the dark, pulled something off the hanger in the dark, yeah. Okay, so that's the word there. And then what about for odd trousers? We've got our standard gray, we've got our standard sort of tan or fawn color, the light cricket whites. What about dark brown?
Dark brown is, I mean, it's not the most versatile color, and let me explain. The reason it's not the most versatile color is that most odd jacket trouser combinations tend to be darker jackets and lighter trousers. It's just universally is safer.
Right, okay. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. You're going to find a lot safer combinations going that way, dark jacket, light trouser, than the converse. So if you're going with dark brown trousers, you already trapped yourself into a light jacket. I mean, there's no other way, right? So that eliminates sort of a whole bunch of jackets. So you're looking at things like, maybe an oatmeal top, right? Something like what you have right there.
This one here.
Exactly.
Yes.
Okay. So you're looking at things
or
like
this
that.
one here.
Even that is a bit too dark. There's not enough contrast, but it has to be that light or something like the gun club next to it.
This one here, yes.
Right.
Yes.
So, you're really looking at lighter or that one. Exactly. So they're just fewer trousers, fewer jackets that will work with a dark brown trouser.
There you go.
Unless you have such a broad wardrobe that, you just have to have a pair of dark brown trousers in there.
to make up the shades, to fill out the gap. Now, the menswear market, and more broadly speaking, the clothing market, it's been suggested, and I think this doesn't only apply to our field, it applies, I think, to enormous number of product categories.
Mm-hmm.
Is the middle market, traditional middle market, disappearing?
Brilliant question, Pete. Really beautiful question.
Thank you.
And you and I have discussed this in private too many times, too often to even recount. And the short answer is absolutely yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And unfortunately, if I might add, unfortunately, I hasten to add, the middle market is disappearing and fast. I've talked about this philosophically in a number of my speeches or sort of my monologues. For those of you who are subscribed to the private channel, where I have some of my personal monologues published. But I talked about the coming divide, right? And it's no longer coming. We're there, right? And if I had guessed it philosophically or anecdotally or theoretically, if I had guessed it 2, 3, 4 years ago, now I'm seeing it in actual figures in our own sales.
In our own sales.
In our own sales figures. And I'll explain to you, we launched an MTM business middle of this year. We've had that conversation. You're part of the team, so you know why we launched the MTM product. Can you tell us why, or do you want me to sort of share why we launched the MTM product?
Well, I'll give you very briefly. My understanding was that there are a lot of people out there who like the product or like the design language, shall we say, the DNA, and felt that the bespoke was a luxury that they couldn't really justify, possibly because they're students or they have a family or whatever the reason is, but they still really fancied themselves wearing it. At least that was what I understood. Am I right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And you are internal. You're part of the team. You were part of the decision. To sort of do something about that. And MTM was the outcome of that. Now, when we designed this company, right, there was a product pyramid, right? And incidentally, we started at the top of the pyramid, right? With our bespoke product. not that we planned it that way. That was just the product we came out with.
Yeah.
But given the nature of the product, it couldn't. I mean, we could make a chinchilla jacket, right? But it would be a question of sort of a fabric that costs $100,000, right?
Yeah,
versus
exactly.
$100 a meter.
Yeah.
But in terms of, we automatically placed ourselves with our launching product at the top of the pyramid. And what we quickly discovered was that it was really sort of out of reach of most people. Indeed. And as we built our social media following and audience, and it grew larger and larger, it became even more and more glaring. In fact, at a point, we had to I personally had to sort of like pinch myself and like, really, maybe we're in a little bit of a bubble here, right? In sort of, we arrived at this product, not because we were looking to sell something to only rich people.
Right, I get it, yeah.
Do you understand?
Sure.
We literally sort of stumbled onto this sort of price point. And that's even trying to create something of value at a significant price advantage to its equivalent elsewhere.
Well, I was going to say, Prof, if you don't mind.
If you understand what I mean.
But if you don't mind my just mentioning this, I mean, if you look around, and the risk of vulgarity here, bringing this subject in, we are not at the top of the price pyramid in terms of the industry.
Well, Pete, I would say yes and no. Okay, and let me qualify that. Okay, there's something called marginal return, right? Or law of diminishing returns, or incremental return.
Right.
So once you get to a certain price point, right, above that, what you're really paying for is the brand.
Right.
Brand
Okay.
power.
Okay. Sure.
So when I say we're at the top of the pyramid, I mean like fundamentally, Bespoke is at the top of the pyramid.
Sure. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Whether you're paying $4,500 or $5,000, which is the average price of our Bespoke, $4,500, or you're paying $10,000, which you easily will pay.
Yeah.
For its equivalent elsewhere.
Yes, indeed.
Right.
Yeah.
That difference is just what I call, there's no real utility.
It's the brand premium.
It's just a brand premium.
Yeah. Okay.
You're not getting a better product.
Yeah. Okay.
You understand?
Sure.
Versus our Bespoke at $5,000 and say MTM at half the price tag.
Sure.
There's a logical and there's a real tangible value difference, differential, right? And above that $5,000 price point, right? Whatever you price it, there's really no functional benefit, right? There's no real.
I know. I get it.
Done. It's like you're not going to sort of go shipping Martians from Mars. To hand make it and then price it at $20,000.
So there's a limit. To what else you could do.
There's a limit to what else you could do above that point.
Sure.
Whether you price it at $5,000 like AskOkey, or you go to Anderson and Shepherd and price it at $10,000, or Henry Poole, or the other ones.
Any one of a number.
Any one of the other ones that are priced closer to $10,000, which is double what we charge, right? There is really no practical difference.
Yeah.
Right? Now, when you come to MTM, there is a difference.
Yes.
Because MTM, you're going straight to finish. It's a standard block.
It's not handmade.
It's not handmade. So there is a real functional difference there. So it's a different product.
Yes.
That's what I meant when I said that when we started with our Bespoke, it placed us right at the top of the pyramid.
Got it.
Not in terms of price vis-a-vis the competition, but in terms of the tangible, fundamental, functional value of the product itself.
Reflecting the cost of goods sold.
Reflecting what goes into making the product.
What goes into making it. Okay, so
do you understand what I'm saying?
I do 100%. So we started with Bespoke, which was, because we're a design firm, that was the logical place to start.
Pretty much.
Because you can execute your designs much more easily in the Bespoke space than you can in knockoffs, ready to wear.
Ready to wear,
for example.
in MTM.
MTM. So,
MTM is a standardized process, right?
Right,
You're
right.
limited in what you can do creatively.
you can still do very
You
good
can
things.
do a
though.
lot, but that's because we developed a bespoke product first.
Right, okay.
Had we started with MTM, we wouldn't have done as much. It would have been sort of like your standard, sort of knock of the mill, run of the mill MTM, which everyone else does.
Now,
what we've effectively done with MTM is that we've taken everything we've learned from bespoke, right? From our design shop. And we're introducing those ideas into what is essentially a standardized sort of what you might call assembly line process.
Yeah, but do you remember, Prof, you may or may not, conversation that you and I had in 2018. And I asked, what about? And you said, no, you can't do it. Remember? You can't. And because we were talking about MTM, you said, no, we can't do that. Now, of course, because we've gone the long way round, we actually can do it. But your reaction was, no, it can't be done because of the challenge of, what's the word? Translating what is fundamentally something that is meant to be made bespoke into that assembly line process.
And Pete, that is why customers will tell you, and our MTM is like no other.
Yeah, I know, it's extraordinary.
Because it is one of the only MTMs, if not the only MTM, where you have the highest degree of customization.
Yeah.
And we can do that because we're just basically copying and pasting.
Yes.
We just take from our bespoke business, we can sort of take and just sort of implement that at sort of with a little bit more difficulty, but as just an added value to the customer.
So we got into the made-to-measure tier, as you could call it, because we wanted to make our designs and products available to a wider group.
More accessible
to a wider group. Okay. But what did we find?
We found out that we may have miscalculated. And that is how you started this conversation, okay? When we design our product pyramid, we assume bespoke will sit at the top. We assumed a theoretical MTM will sit at the middle for sort of what you call the middle class,
right?
Or the working class,
the
or
mid-market,
the mid-market. And then the bottom of the pyramid were just sort of, if there was a ready-to-wear line, or just sort of what you might call just
a ready-to-wear line.
Ready-to-wear or sort of casual things, or what do you call them again? Memorabilia. Or accessories, things that cost $100, $50, and so on and so forth, right? Memorabilia, accessories,
impulse products,
right? That's where sort of the broadest. Now, our calculation suggested that somewhere in the middle of that pyramid, we could sort of stick in an NTM product and it would stick, right? Well, it made sense. Logically, you're getting a look-alike, right? You're getting a product that looks like it looks every bit like the bespoke product, like it almost fits like the bespoke product. The only thing is that it's machine made, right? And it doesn't have the same degree of customization and the number of trials and fittings and so on and so forth. And some people are our calculation was like, for half the price, a lot of people would be happy with that compromise, right? We thought. Now, when we put out the product out there, it was very well received because there's a lot of build-up, right? When we put it out in June, there's a lot of build-up. People had been talking about this for a year and asking for it for 2 years. So there was a lot of pressure in the pipeline. So there was that initial rush, right? I mean, we got like 150 orders, right? Before we even made a single garment. I mean, it was crazy, right? We were absolutely overwhelmed and shocked. Now, what we noticed after that is that we expected the MTM business to just really, really kind of like fly off the roof just because of the price advantage. And we're not seeing that.
No.
It's growing. Don't get me wrong. We've done a healthy clip for a business that is 6 months old. We've done multiple six figures, right? Approaching $500,000, right? For a business that literally is 5-month-old, right? So it's done well, right? But we were really expected to be a moonshot.
Right.
We're expecting it to be a moonshot because there was like you're getting, literally you're getting what I call sort of a smaller version of a Rolls Royce for the price of, a BMW.
Right. Okay. Yes.
Right? You understand?
Yeah, I do.
So it's like BMW owns the Rolls Royce brand.
Yes.
So it's like sort of pricing the Rolls Royce Ghost, which is under the Phantom. The Phantom is the big daddy, right? Is the yacht, the land yacht. Then you've got the Ghost, which is sort of like one step below the Phantom, right? And then you've got the BMW 7 Series, which BMW owns, both Rolls-Royce and
That's
BMW.
right, yes.
So it's like getting that Rolls Ghost. MTM is like getting the Rolls Ghost in that it looks like the real thing, like the Phantom, but you're getting it at the price of a 7 Series BMW.
Right.
Right? Which you should think, whoa, this is a great deal. Right? Yeah. You think people will be like jumping all over it.
Yes.
Now, what we found out is that even at that price point, right, the market is soft.
Sure.
Softer than we expected.
Right.
The market at the top of the pyramid is very strong.
There you go.
If we look at our figures, our bespoke business, even after the launch of MTM, is doing 2 times better. 2x. How do you explain that?
It's a tough one.
Yeah. It's really kind of
a conundrum.
It beats the imagination because you're like we're selling $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 suits much easier and quicker than we are selling $2,000 suits.
Well,
I mean, how you understand what I'm saying?
I do.
In what world does that make sense, right? If you look at sort of the classic economic demand supply curve, right? But we're selling $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 suits much quicker and sooner and with more ease than selling $2,000 suits.
Yeah, but you remember, well, you wouldn't remember it, but during the Great Depression, Cadillac never suffered. Chevy did. The Chevrolet, the Plymouth, that sort of level, they suffered. Cadillac never suffered. And the head, whoever that was, I can't remember his name now, the guy at GM, said Cadillac is competing with fur coats and diamonds. It's not competing with other cars. So there is always a consistent demand at the top of the pyramid. Always. Even though it's counterintuitive, Prof. As you said, the supply curve, or the old economics thing. The clearing price curve, and all that.
It just defies it completely.
It does, because it's got its own logic. So what you're saying is that at that much lower price, which was about a third when we launched. At that much lower price, there just isn't demand.
I mean, there is...
there's some.
But there is some demand, but not the kind of demand we theoretically thought there would be, right? We thought like people would be able to see this as a complete steal, right? So if you read all these articles that are coming out, and other brands are starting to see the same thing. There was an article I read the other day, is like the 2 winners, LVMH and Shine. Shine is the Chinese, like literally this is sort of is a complete divide of an economy. So it's either, you either sort of go the Ritz-Carlton route or you go the Motel 6 route.
Yes, that was another example.
There is nothing in between.
No.
So either you position your product grades as a premium product and with the product and service and quality to show, or you basically, it's a race to the bottom.
Yes.
And that's why Amazon is doing well.
Yeah.
Right? Because Amazon is a price...
high volume.
Is a high price, high volume. So if you look at everything, Shine, what's the other Chinese thing again? Captain, what's the other thing that people buy things from?
Well, there's H&M, but it's not Chinese.
No, there's this other...
Timu?
Timu,
yeah. Yes, I don't know how...
Temu. So things like Shine, things like Temu, if you look at all these sort of like price even, they're all doing well. They're all doing extraordinarily well.
Yes.
So are the, sort of the premium price, Ferrari is having another bang-up year. They can't keep up with demand.
I know, it's extraordinary.
Real estate prices, prime real estate is just, it's ridiculous. So really, it's a tale of two cities here.
Yes, it is, yes.
And we're starting to see that in our own house.
Right inside our own house.
Right inside our own house. So we thought about it, Peter, and say, well, what can we do about it? Right?
There you go.
Because you remember when we started, the mandate was to sort of give access, to provide access to as many people as possible. We put in the MTN line, which is doing well, right? And honest be told, is doing well also because some of our bespoke customers are sort of dipping.
Yeah, definitely. Why not? Why not?
Dipping into, picking up the odds. So they're also supporting the MTN business, so to speak. So we thought, well, how can we support the MTN product, a bit more firmly? And the idea, we put out a poll and asked people, what are your main constraints? Of course, everybody screamed price, right? That's the first thing people are going to say. Oh, it's unaffordable. It's too expensive. This, that. Well, a lot of people actually said it's not too expensive. A lot of people agreed. They admitted that this is incredible value. We just don't have it like that. I mean, a lot of people were very honest about it because we put our polls on Instagram, right? Multiple choice polls, written polls. People say, listen, it's a great product. It's an incredible steal, but listen, we ain't got it like that. We can pay installments. We can sort of see a situation where we can sort of pay our way into the product. But, for a lot of people to pay $2,000 in one shot for a suit is just sort of unthinkable. So we put out the poll, say, okay, what is reasonable? And the poll suggested, we say, okay, $300 a month, $400, $500, $600. I think those were the options. And overwhelming majority sort of suggested that they would happily pay $300 a month, right? Instrumentally to be able to own the product. So based on all this research, we created, we didn't create it, we just basically implemented the buy now, pay later product or instrument, right? We didn't invent any of this. These things exist. Klarna, Affirm, what's the third one again? Zip, and then the fourth one was Afterpay.
Yeah.
So these are the four predominant BNPL products around the world that are available in most countries. So we implemented BNPL through our payment processor Stripe, right? To test out the idea. We will see, right? At the end of the period, we should have enough data to really understand what the constraints in that lower market is. Because we thought the constraint was price, right? And we sort of introduce a product which is half the price of our bespoke. It didn't quite do the trick, or it hasn't quite done the trick. The product is doing well, don't get me wrong, but it's doing well, I think, because it's getting help from upstairs, from the bespoke customers, right? Who might want to pick up a few things here and there that they can use a bit more casually. So I think it will be an interesting experiment for us to see how the BNPL product runs and what the data we get from that tells us. Because at the top of it, right, going back to your opening statement, the middle market is in big trouble. And not just with bespoke or clothing. I think it's pretty much across the board. We're living in very, very, very interesting times, Pete.
And we're noticing, we've noticed this with, for example, the accessories. Leave our shop in great numbers. And I think almost more numbers than we thought originally. I'm not surprised what you're saying, because I've noticed it. Even if you look, for example, at restaurants, there are plenty of very, very higher market restaurants that do very well. And then there's plenty of places like McDonald's and so forth that do very well. And again, the middle market, even there, isn't quite there. Now, whether this is a permanent thing or it's because of demographics or something, who knows? And it's a subject, obviously, for people to study. But so the question then is, how does a business handle this? If you're a business that, luckily, we're not a business that lives in a market that's disappearing. Now, however, what you're saying does kind of not justify, it does sort of explain the success of certain enterprises who understand, look, you've got a top and a bottom. If you can't, for whatever reason, serve the top, serve the bottom, and figure out how to do it. Pile them high, sell them cheap, and do it that way.
And Pete, unfortunately, that's not an option for us.
No,
right?
well, no, obviously not.
So,
no.
sort of race to the bottom or sort of putting out subpar products out there isn't contravention with everything we stand for brand-wise.
Of course, yes.
It's not even an option for us.
No.
The reason we're doing this BMPL, again, this has nothing to do with the product of the brand. This is just basically what you call an enabling instrument.
Sure.
Okay? Yeah. It has nothing to do with how we price our product or the quality of our product. It's just an enabling instrument, right? To essentially, again, fulfill that mandate of providing access to a broader product to a broader part of the market. So not to be confused. I think sort of we should stress that one should not confuse, sort of a tool or a financing tool with the brand or the brand values itself. These are two completely separate things. So we're never going to compromise the brand by sort of basically sort of lowering the price to a point where sort of we start to compromise on the quality of the product. That is a non-starter. That is off the table. That is just not even on the bargaining table, right? So we're going to hold our prices where they are, and we're going to do what we can within the laws of physics to provide access
to
our products to a broader, not everyone, but to a broader market. Hence the BMPL.
So it's a purchasing method.
It's
a purchasing method, yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. And any business has to, don't want to say adapt, but has to accommodate certain facts in its context. And that's what we're doing. Anyway, Prof, thank you very much. We've reached the end of
the road. The
proverbial
road.
The end of the proverbial road.
The proverbial road.
Yeah. And we look forward to being again with you next week. Thank you very much for joining us. And don't forget, like and subscribe, because you are the people who keep it all going. Prof, thank you.
Exciting conversation, Pete.
Indeed.
Thank you for having me.
As always, indeed.
Thank you.
Most welcome. Bye for now.
Prof.